That's really hard. I don't know. It's really interesting. And I have, what? I feel like I have deep perplexed, like, just like, thought processes about this type of question sometimes. Like, am I really me? Like, I don't know.
Hey, there's a chick on my app.
Right, I'm just saying women aren't meant to fight. You have tiny, hollow bones.
Don't you think you're doing a lot of genderizing?
What?
Don't be a pussy. Join Cobra Kai.
I was a natural cobra.
I'm here with Bo Mitchell, who plays Brucks on Cobra Kai. And I'm just so excited to have you here, man.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm stoked to be here and be chatting. And yeah, thanks for hitting me up and, wanting to have me on.
I'm just glad to see you're alive because, we don't get to see you again after Hawk beats the living crap out of Brucks, that we actually don't get an image of you. So I was a little worried.
Yeah, I think that was probably not a PG-13 image. So they had to kind of keep that one to themselves. But yeah, no, it's all smoke and mirrors. I'm totally fine. So
good. I'm glad we got some behind the scenes shots of it, and I was happy to know that it was not your face under there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They just had like a little special effects rigs, spraying fake blood, but yeah, totally.
Well, I want to get to Cobra Kai in a little bit, but I'm actually really excited to talk to you about skateboarding. You started your own skateboarding company at like 15, right?
Yeah, essentially. It was actually it's pretty fun. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Shout out to Hick Warehouse, and that's the name of the company. It was really like a pro shop, like a skateboarding shop. So it started out just kind of filling a need. We didn't have a shop where I was from in South Carolina, Aiken, South Carolina, and we didn't have a place to go buy skateboard merchandise. It was mostly online, or you had to drive like an hour to go to a skateboard store. So that was really how it started. And like I said, it was to fill a need, and it was just like golfers and stuff. Other people call things like that pro shops. So I use that term because some people pick it up quicker on what it is. But people are starting to kind of go to skate shops and shop there like passively, even if they don't skateboard, which is really cool. So people kind of get it now. But yeah, it was a skate shop originally, and so we. Yeah, it was a really, really fun time. That's so random that you picked that up. But yeah, we did that for like 10 years pretty much. And it evolved from that into, a signature line of skateboards and a indoor skateboarding facility. And it ultimately resolved as a nonprofit. And so now we don't really have a brick and mortar anymore with nonprofit functions. And we basically help put in place, safe places for people to skate in rural areas. So
that's so awesome. Yeah. I mean, I love skate culture. I grew up with it for sure. And I mean, I just think it's awesome that you were able to fill that kind of a need in a place where it doesn't seem like there was a huge skate community that was, accessible. But I mean, like, were there a lot of kids in that town in South Carolina in Aiken, right? Did you guys have like a big skate community that just didn't have, a place to go, or like, what was it like growing up there?
Yeah, that's a fun question. We kind of did. I mean, skateboarders are like kind of outcasty. Now it's becoming a popular thing and everyone's just giving it a shot, which is awesome. But back then it was like, if you skated, you kind of didn't fit in some of the other more popular, high school groups or something, or it didn't have to be high school, but just in general. So you'd run into each other at like a gas station or something, and you'd see someone else on a skateboard, and it was just a really weird instance because you're like, oh, there's another one of me over there, So yeah, it wasn't like there was hundreds of us running around. Like, if you go to California, just everyone has a skateboard in their hand. It's kind of wild. But back then it was definitely more rare, but there was enough people there to where there was a need that was not being met by the city, the municipalities, or like the local, just small businesses. And like I said, it's pretty much either shop at an online store or drive an hour or two. And, nothing wrong with driving a little while, but a lot of the skateboarders were 15-year-olds, high schoolers, you know, they couldn't drive themselves an hour to the big city and like get a board, you know? So I don't know. It was just kind of me and some buddies, and it came up one day in conversation. It's like, oh, I wish we had our own skate shop. And I was like, oh, that's not that hard to do. Like, and so just kind of figured it out and invested some money and started one. So, I mean, it definitely helped the scene grow. And it pulled people out of the woodwork kind of, because I think once people heard like, oh, we have a skate shop now, like what? And maybe people picked it back up after putting it down because there was a place to support it. So it for sure helped the scene grow over time. But in the beginning, it was really just, you know, kind of helping a handful of people that were there. So there wasn't that big of a group in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, I now I understand how fortunate I was to grow up like on Long Island, where, you know, skate cultures, it was relatively popular when I was growing up. I mean, I would say it was like the anti-popular, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There was a big group of us. And I mean, like, you know, how do you find something like skateboarding all by yourself when, you know, there's not a huge culture surrounding you?
Yeah, it's definitely weird. Like I do question that sometimes, like how do people stumble upon this? And again, now we live in a whole different world than we did 10 years ago. Even though digital is still a thing, it's like having TikTok and stuff on your phone is like a 12-year-old, like the world's at your fingertips, literally. Like back then, like I remember, even though we had YouTube in like 2011, it was still young. It wasn't that much data just sitting there for you to search. So when you Googled skateboarding, it was not as much information, and you couldn't geolocate it to skateboarding in South Carolina. If you did that, nothing came up. So it was definitely weird for me seeing other people that skated. I started skating because of a friend of mine that I made when I was younger, like 4 years old. We kind of met because we were neighbors and we just were buddies, you know, through adolescence and all. And he picked it up in high school because one of his buddies did it, or I think he saw some people doing it. And again, he was definitely kind of outcast with his little group, and so they picked it up because that was a way for them to kind of, you know, congregate, and he looped me into it. I mean, there's definitely some on and off experiences with skating from when I was really young because of the Tony Hawk video games. You know, you'd play that, and it's so silly to say that, but seriously, I played the video games, and I thought it was so cool. And so we got a hold of a board, like a Walmart skateboard, which is like kind of a joke, but it was something to like hold on to, you know, and stand on, and played with that when I was younger. But yeah, when I was about 12 or something, we really picked it up because my group of friends at the time picked it up. So it was just random, honestly, for me. Yeah, really weird. I don't know. It was such a random run-in, and it definitely changed my life forever in like a huge way. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is so random how like you find things that you're interested in. Like I remember getting into it when I was young as well, just kind of like watching it literally started. I was watching Shaun White snowboard at the 2006 Olympics, and I was like, that's so cool. Like, that's awesome. Like like he's my favorite athlete. And then my name is Toni. And so like boys, when they would pick on me in like elementary school, they'd be like, oh, you're Toni, like Tony Hawk, the boy. And I was like, Tony Hawk, I think I know who that is. Like Shaun White talks about him. And so that's how I like ended up finding like Tony Hawk and being like, oh, skateboarding is like so cool. Like, this is awesome. Yeah. And then, you know, I never got very good at it. Can't say I was like the best, but I would definitely, I hung out with the crowd, and I would go and we'd sit under the train tracks, and I'd sit there on the skateboard drinking my Monster while everybody else did tricks. And I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, that's it though. No, it's rad. It's like, yeah, that's such a funny run-in with it too, that like you got looped in through Shaun White. I mean, Shaun White was competing in X Games for a while, skateboarding too, because the vert ramp, like snowboarding and skateboarding, is pretty similar mechanics. So I think he was competing in skating and snow for a little while. But so yeah, I mean, definitely, yeah, that's wild. But yeah, I mean, I know some buddies like that too, and it's really just, yeah, that's rad that you were even out there, because like, you know, like I said earlier, the skate shop turned into a skate park, and I saw firsthand all sorts of people kind of come and go. And, you could tell when someone really just thought it was really liked the skating because of how they would kind of associate with the others. And like, you can definitely tell you were stoked on it. Like, cause people that aren't, they really are like super passive. They come and go. You're not going to catch them like out at the skate spot, even just hanging out on the curb. Like they'll stop by and say hi for a minute, but they're not going to follow everyone around and be a part of the crew. So, I mean, that's sick that you're into it enough to have been hanging out with everyone and doing that. Cause, definitely means you're stoked on it. It doesn't really matter. Like to me about, I try to tell people this too. It's like, no one's going to be professional. Like, not everyone can be a professional, cause it's like, think about like pickup basketball or pickup soccer, it's like everyone's out there just kind of playing, having fun, messing around. And maybe there's people on the bench waiting for their turn to go hop in the team. But like no one out there is playing that well. Like, same thing with skating. It's like everyone out there is just like kind of having fun, so that's what it's about. So
yeah, what I've found lately too is that the culture of it is just so accepting and doesn't really matter who you are, where you've come from. And you just talked about pickup basketball. Basketball is a sport I played my whole life, and now I'm not playing on a team anymore. And so when I go play pickup at my school gym, I'm usually the only girl, and it's very, very hard to get accepted. You have to like prove something, and you have to go out there and you have to, beg to play basically. But if I go to a skate park, people are just like, oh yeah, okay, like come hang out, like come join us, have fun, like, like, and everyone is just so accepting. And I find it actually very similar to the Cobra Kai fan community. Everyone's just so accepting, so supportive, so much fun. And my favorite part about skate culture was definitely the music I grew up listening to. It was something that kept me coming back to the skate park. All the little scene kid music and stuff was so popular when I was growing up. I don't know if it was down in South Carolina, but like all my friends and I would go to Warped Tour every year, and that kind of music. I don't know if was coinciding with yours as well.
That was definitely kind of like the sound of that era. I remember me and my friends listened to that a lot as well back then. Like, rock and roll, punk rock, that type of stuff. Metal is like been like a main vein kind of in skateboarding's culture for a long time. Like skateboarding is heavily tied to music because most skateboarders kind of listen to music as they skate to help them stay amped up, because it is a bit of like an adrenaline junkie, I don't want to call it a sport, but most people that do it are, having to keep themselves at like a heightened level of like, just being. They need to stay on their toes constantly riding around and stuff, because you're going pretty fast and you're doing multiple tricks at once or in a row. And so, everyone's pretty much listening to music the whole time. So it's a big thing. And I remember seeing a lot of pro skaters at that time were dressing like scene music artists. Like if you go back and look at the skateboarder particularly, there's a couple I can name. Like there's Chris Cole and Corey Duffel. If you look at those two, like in the 2008 like era, they dressed like they were in like a pop punk band. Like it's kind of funny. Like they really had like the super tight skinny jeans on, bleached hair, crazy, just wild punk rock attire. So definitely it's rad because you kind of feel, it helps you feel accepted because like everyone's there doing stuff that you like, and then no one's like getting upset about it or like making fun of you for it because it's not like, whatever everyone else listed at that time. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I definitely get it.
Yeah, I actually bought a skateboard at Warped Tour. They had like a Vans tent and like a skateboard tent set up next to it, and they were it was awesome. And then I got it signed by someone from one of the bands that I was super enamored with at the time, and like the way the two coincide, like it was a huge part of my life. Like I was like, I'll buy another skateboard. I'm at Warped Tour, as long as like Alex Garth is gonna sign it for me, like I'll buy a skateboard. I have two.
I got a bunch of signed skateboards. It's so fun.
Yeah.
All right, we're going later, dude. One of my roommates is skating too. He just left to go skate, but dude, that's so sick because it's like, I don't know. It's so funny. Yeah, just thinking about, you kind of have me like perplexed and like thinking through like kind of how I guess how the culture works, and how all of it kind of connects together and intertwines.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's super cool. Like I know a lot of people that have like I actually have a band that I like a lot called Future Islands, and they are kind of like an alternative band, but they do well, they did a line of boards with this company called Habitat Skateboards. So I got one of their boards off of that line, and then like a couple months later, I got to go to one of their shows and brought it, got it signed, all this stuff. Like, so yeah, like completely same vibe. Like, like it's really cool to be able to kind of merge a couple things that you like together into one. It's super sick.
Yeah, it's so sick. I'm so glad you like feel me on that. Like that the way they go together, it's like peanut butter and jelly. Like it just like
Totally.
music goes with skateboarding so well. And
Yeah.
but I'm glad that you have something that you're so passionate about, but like I love your Instagram handle as well. Like the whole like blonde ambition, like you are just an ambitious person, truly.
Thanks.
Because I was listening way back when you're on Cobra Kai Companion, like that, like skateboarding like wasn't your first even business venture. They had a whole conversation with you about like your snow cone stand.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah,
You've just been at it forever.
yeah, for sure. Been grinding for a while. Yeah, that Instagram handle is so funny too, because I talk to people about that now, and I think Instagram has changed a lot, because when it first started, like it was a really funky place. Like no one used their actual name on Instagram. Like everyone would use their real name on like Facebook or something. But if you logged on Instagram, the whole point was for it to be like a weird, funky, or like artistic outlet. So no one used names. And now it's kind of reversing, right? Like everyone's on there with like their official Bo Mitchell, and then they have their like weird, funky one is like a spam or Finster or something. But like, yeah, I kind of just been stuck there. I don't know. I'm stoked on it though. But yeah, that even came from like an old Eastbound and Down quote, but it just kind of like evolved into like, it was a joke at first, and now it's just kind of evolved into like, I guess, reality. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you say it started out as something from Eastbound and Down, but like it really just works, and I love that you kept it. Like you don't stray at all from it, and you're not gonna switch to that all official thing. I think my first Instagram handle was like something nobody. Like I was such an emo kid. Like it was like little something nobody or whatever. I was like,
that's amazing.
Who am I? And I changed it probably at like 15 or 16. I conformed. I put my name there because no one could find me. And my friends would look me up and they'd be like, we don't know where you are.
I had similar issues with that. And then I don't know what happened, but I think since Facebook got linked up to it, I've been able to search Bo Mitchell and my thing comes up. But totally, yeah, it was definitely weird for a while, because I remember like I was trying to find buddies and I couldn't find them no matter how hard I tried. Like, and I'd have to type in their actual tag. Yeah, it was cool back then. It's definitely changed a lot, but I don't know. Instagram is still like my main social media outlet. I feel like I'm getting old though, because I think a lot of people have moved on to TikTok, but I don't know. I'm kind of like archaic now because I'm stuck there.
I talk about it all the time. I should be so much better at TikTok than I am. I don't know how to use it. I had a 16-year-old explain it to me not that long ago. And I didn't understand for the longest time. I'm starting to get there, but Instagram is definitely like my main way of using social media, and Twitter was like, I feel like I've fallen off Twitter a little bit, but I think Twitter was really popular when we were in high school as well. You were a few years before me, but
yeah, no, Twitter is crazy. Twitter is like definitely, it's been like, if you just talk about social media apps and the culture of that, like that's pretty insane how long it's been around and how well it's done. Like I feel like it's maintained itself as like not only like a founding father, but still like a foundational pillar. Like and like what we use every day. Like there's so many people on Twitter still using Twitter. Like I don't know. It's weird. Like, I feel like it's always been like a big player in just everything. Like, especially, I don't know. Yeah, just wild how this stuff works. And I don't know. I'm kind of tripping out over here. Sorry.
It's okay. I think it's just funny, like the way that they promote things too. It's like a great source of news. You can make sure you're getting like newsworthy news on Twitter. And I think being a journalism student, I do follow a lot of news outlets. So a lot of like my suggested comes up as news as well. But like it is a way to consume news from all points of bias. And so you can kind of gather and form your own opinion based on everything that's put in front of you. And that's for anything. Like I use Twitter for like music news and sports news mostly, but Twitter is now at this point mainly where I consume news, which is it's so weird. Like they compile all this data and they just give you all this news from all these different outlets. And so you can look at everything, and I don't have to go on CNN first and then MSNBC and then like Fox News. Like I don't have to go to all of them. Same, like I can look up like the Sports Business Journal, but it's all just right there in front of me in like 140 characters, which is great. Like it's all I use Twitter for at this point.
Yeah, it's like this is like a chicken or the egg type of question, but I don't know what happened first. Like, did social media really shorten our attention spans, or have we just like adapted to it being like, a smaller like format of data? Like, because Twitter's always been 144 characters, and to me, like that's a sweet spot, because you can go on there and you can burn through, like you said, all your favorite outlets and get a quick dose of what you need to like kind of stay in touch with the world, I guess, and that's super interesting. And I don't know, I should probably start using Twitter for that. I'm like not hardly on it, even though I have a handle. And I'm so bad with news too, because like, to be honest with you, I just can't take like watching on the television anymore. I stopped about 10 years ago, and I've been living a much happier life since. And not to sound like a kook or anything, but it's just so hard to stay tuned into that stuff,
Yeah, no, it's something that we talk about all the time in all my classes. Like the digital space is the new space, and you're not getting a ton of jobs as like news anchors for TV anymore, because it's all digital at this point. So every job you look at is like digital anchor this, digital this. And I don't know what came first, whether or not we shortened our attention spans or social media did it for us. If I had to take a guess, I would say it was probably a little bit of both. Like those people that created that social media space had the shortened attention spans and had the idea that was coming. And so they adapted to that.
Yeah,
totally. But social media has then in turn shortened it even more. I mean, TikTok is like what, 15 seconds to 60 seconds. Like the videos don't even go longer than that.
Totally.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you think back to like Instagram, right? Like how these social media, like, so we're just like, basically, I think we're seeing like rapid evolution right now, because we've just continuously like been kind of building speed and like efficiency, I feel like, in our life. Like, because if you think back, we're talking about this, think back to Instagram when they first introduced videos, and they were 15-second videos. And the reason they did that was to compete with Snapchat. And then Instagram was like, okay, let's bump this up to like a minute. And, that was like, it's still kind of, a minute or less. But then they added the Instagram TV not long ago, and now they have Reels to battle with TikTok. Like they're all kind of battling for the space, Yeah. But just in general too, it's like so interesting to look at, because I feel like, I don't know, you think about like your grandpa, like reading like a newspaper, and what you would get out of that, and how much data you had to consume, and the rate that it was consumed. Like that was like, most of the morning, like reading the paper and eating your breakfast, right? Like now this is happening like in seconds, because you're busting through the feed on Twitter and all these other email things you're probably subscribed to, and YouTube, and you're just downloading 10 times as much info just as a human being,
No.
Like, and I think all these social media algorithms are kind of keeping up with us too, continuing to provide more and more and more. And it's just kind of wild. I don't know. It makes my brain hurt thinking about it, honestly.
I told you my brain was gonna break during this conversation.
Yes,
it might happen now.
Yeah.
But you've been acting forever. You got discovered like 9 months old or something. So has the change in the digital space affected the way like TV and film is made?
Yeah, totally. It's really changed the game like completely, and just in many different ways. You got so if you look at like just how movies are made or how film is made or whatever right now, I mean, first of all, it's not generally being made for a TV channel anymore. Similar to what you were saying earlier, like, you're not going out to be a digital or a TV anchor, you're going to be a digital anchor. Like, same thing. It's like, oh, we're making this show not for MTV. We're making it for, YouTube or Netflix or Amazon or Hulu,
Mhm.
And it's like, I mean, there's those TV channels are still making that stuff, but even if you're making it under a network, it's kind of been powerhouse in like household TV, American, household television, like E or MTV or whatever. And I don't even know half of them that are out there anymore. Discovery, History, those types of things. That stuff is still all going to digital space. At the end of the day, it's like the cable is like dying very fast. And so that's one huge thing that's changed in general, is that the way that the people that are producing the content now are much different, and it's produced in a different way to meet that consumption, right? Because, we've been on the system of like weekly, new episodes for a long time, but just these past like year or 2 years, like three, maybe you could say three, we've been experimenting with how binge watching works. And I feel like everyone was like, all right, binge, this is binge, we can like open it up, everything's dropping day one, like boom, it's they want people to binge watch. And now I think we've gotten through this kind of case study that no one agreed to, but everyone participated in, of how the marketing for all this works. And you have different networks playing with it now. Like HBO is doing some really interesting stuff. Like I know some of HBO stuff is still going weekly new episodes. And then I know some things are being ran like you'll get like 1 or 2 episodes, and then like a week later you get the entire series.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. It's like they're experimenting with all this in ways to basically figure out how they can make the most amount of money, like in the best amount of time, right? Like it's all about like money and time. So like, yeah, so that has just been a really huge thing. I remember talking with the cast on Cobra Kai about it, like in season 1, during season 1 production, which was like 2017. And we were talking about it because we were toying around with the idea of how it would work on YouTube Red, and just, how the whole industry is changing and stuff. And so, we chatted about it then, and it's just total good sense, and now we're here. It's 2021, and I don't know, the sky's the limit. And I mean, I don't mean to run my mouth. You can tell me to shut up at any moment, but it's like I can keep going. I mean, there's other things that have changed as well. Like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy when you think about like auditioning. So kind of how you would get a role in a movie or a show. That's drastically changed as well. So when you look back to 10 years ago, let's go all the way back to like 1990, right? The 90s. So to make it quick, you used to have to put a tape, a mini DV, basically a miniature VHS, and your agent would tape you and, all of their other, members, right? Their talent, and they'd send off like an hour-long tape to a casting director. And in that tape would be a manila envelope with a tape in it and like 10 to 15 different headshots and resumes. And it's like, okay, this is coming from so-and-so agency to so-and-so casting for so-and-so project. Here's my people. Here's them auditioning for these roles. And here's their headshots and resumes. and it was all analog. And then fast forward 15 years, you're in like the 2010s now, and things are digital, but it's still that kind of old archaic framing where you would go in, you'd shoot your tape, and then the casting would save it. They'd still take your headshot and resume, and then they would, kind of send it off half digital, half physical, right? And now it's been creeping into this, and COVID really kickstarted it. Now it's almost all digital, and basically you're taping everything now, particularly because of COVID, from home or from your home studio. And then you're doing it on your iPhone, most likely. If not, you're doing it on like a little basic, a little digital camera. And then you put an email with a link to your, actor profile, which is your headshot and resume, and it's all done digitally. Sorry for a long-winded explanation, but to wrapping it up, it's like, you got to think back then in the 90s, right? How many people had the luxury and the privilege to be able to drive an hour or two to go to their agent's facility and tape this stuff? Not many. So the pool of talent was thin, but digitally, every kid has an iPhone now. They can send in a tape if they want to, if they have kind of the connections, which aren't even that hard to achieve nowadays with things like TikTok, and you could just go viral like that. So basically you have this ability to put this spark in a bottle. And if you can, if you do a little bit of research, you can quickly learn how to capitalize on it. And then, so just overnight, basically the talent pool has multiplied by 100 or 1,000. And so you have this crazy situation where, I'm really sorry, I'm ranting. This crazy situation where the director, right, which is pretty much the final say, the final decider of who does what, they're getting to literally pick out the exact thing they had in their imagination. They could have imagined a unicorn, and they're getting to find that now because of this digital age, having thousands having access to this platform. Does that make sense? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I asked because I wanted to know your thoughts. Yeah. So no worries whatsoever. I mean, this can be as long as we want it to be. But what I'm hearing is I should be submitting a video of my black belt exam to the big three so that they'll book me as an extra. That's what I'm hearing from
yes.
That's is that what I should have been hearing? No, but it's so interesting, and it's just crazy to think about. Like, we kind of grew up in the age of technology and everything, the internet, and then cell phones and this and that, and so we've firsthand been on the frontier of all of those changes as 20 something year olds, and so I feel like it's never been new to me, but I can't imagine, I can only imagine what my grandparents felt like when the internet came out, or like it was like having to relearn how to do everything.
Oh yeah, crazy.
But I'm gonna break your brain even further because I have a question for you, and it's kind of loaded question. Okay. You've been acting for as long as you have, and growing up acting, this is a question I've always had for an actor too. If you grow up playing all these different roles, how do you find a way to develop your own identity?
That's a great one. Yeah, that's really fun to answer. That is kind of loaded. I honestly thought that's where you were going to, like halfway through your question. It's like, oh yeah, this is about to be fun to answer. But I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, to slightly backtrack, as far as elders updating technology, I had one grandmother who completely refused it, and now she barely can use a phone because everything's converted to iPhones. And I had one grandmother who completely embraced it and took a computer class at the tech school in the evenings when she was in her 60s. Yeah. Anyway, side note, right? Crazy. Whatever. So going back to your question, that's really hard. I don't know. It's really interesting. And I have, I feel like I have deep, perplexed, thought processes about this type of question sometimes. Like, am I really me? Like, I don't know, because you do get sometimes where you're a little, maybe you do get a little confused with like reality, right? And I mean, that happens today, even with actors who like haven't grown up in it. And I would say actually growing up with it in my life for so long has helped me learn how to deal with it. Because you do get sucked into this stuff. And when you're playing a character, and not to sound pretentious, but when you're doing a good job at it and you're taking it seriously and you're working hard, you trick yourself into feeling that way or being that way, and then it carries on for a little while in your life. Like you don't just, it's really hard to just turn off that light switch. And I think being in it so long, I've developed that on and off switch. Thankfully, it's there now. And I've had some times where I was like definitely in limbo, kind of, trying to figure out like, wait, what am I doing right now? Is this me or is this the character talking at dinner, after work? Like, and it happens sometimes. It really does. And I mean, it actually is kind of heavy, like not to disrespect anyone. That's why you have these crazy things happening where you find like, I mean, like, I feel like Heath Ledger's a pretty big example of that. Like he went like full method for the Joker, and it sent him off the deep end. Like, and he, because of that, he took his own life, sadly. And so it's like that stuff happens. I had played a role for a school shooter, and not to try to compare myself to that, but like just to give a similar experience, right? Like I played the role of a school shooter on this short film that was Oscar nominated called DeKalb Elementary. And I had, went full method for that, worked with the director a lot. We spent a lot of time. I spent like 3 or 4 months in prep, just like basically kind of altering the way I looked and just going through just a lot of work with like speech and stuff because the character had a speech impediment. And anyway, yeah, at the end of it, I was really just kind of depressed. I was in a really bad state, really, really sad all the time, really upset, and just, not happy. And even after shooting, I had like a couple month lull where I was like bummed all the time, just upset about stuff. And it kind of hit me. I was like, I'm still residually like having effects from, practicing to be this character. And I was like, okay, that was one point where I was like, wait, I can kind of control this if I can recognize it and I can work through it and, like kind of get some, help from others and stuff and work through it. And then you come out of it and you're good. And those experiences help you develop these, like I said, like an on and off switch. But I mean, yeah, overall though, it's a great experience. It's been a great life experience. I'm not trying to kind of, like, not downplay, but I'm not trying to like create like, I'm trying to play a violin here, but just, talking about stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. You actually, that was going to be my next question, with what it was like playing a school shooter. So I was tying it there anyway. So I'm glad you brought it there. Because it makes my life a little easier. But I mean, like that's such an intense role to play. And, thankfully you're not, playing it at 12, because I feel like at 12 it would be so intense, and everyone struggles with identity. And so for me, it was always a question of how do actors handle that at that age. Like it amazes me that you're able to come out of it and be like a normal, sane human being, because I feel like I would have an identity crisis once a week. I already have an identity crisis once a week. Like, what am I talking about?
Honestly, I do too. Don't feel bad. Yeah, no, I haven't even worked in a little while. So I think we're just naturally as humans just having these crises. I don't know. Yeah, the 20s have been kind of wild. Honestly, I've been like feeling out like things. I'm like, oh wow. So I'm not a young adult, but I'm not old. Yeah. So am I just an adult now? Trying to figure this.
Where am I?
Out. Yeah.
Where am I in this life? Yeah, no, it is. It's wild. But to kind of go back to that school shooter role, when you have to get into that kind of a mindset, like, and go to those places, when you're done, like, do you talk to someone? Do you you sit by yourself? Like, how do you kind of come down from a role like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really don't know what to do. I think I kind of what I did was, like I said, it took me a little while to even realize what was happening. But I mean, like I had some really interesting experiences. To go back to the beginning, like when we were prepping, there's a 911 call that I would listen to almost daily, and it was really sad because this, you hear out the whole thing play out. It's just kind of sad, and then listening to that, then we would play out the entire film as if we were doing a play. So I would play out kind of how I would move around. And so I was living this daily, and doing research on this guy. And then, like I said, I was altering my body. So I was like wearing lots of clothing and sunscreen on parts of my body that I couldn't cover up to get pale. And I got pretty pale. It was kind of astonishing, actually. I didn't know I could kind of get that pale. Like, like for being like a white person, I received sun pretty well. Like I have some buddies of mine who like get just straight turn red, and but I kind of, get like a little bit of like a natural just pink. So I kind of sucked up the sun a little bit. And so I never really seen myself that pale. I had, my face was like, I looked sick almost. And so all this stuff, like we were prepping and I grew all my hair out, dyed it black, just stuff. I never seen myself like that before. Weird things like that, getting into that character and living it, not just getting, because sorry not to get off track. One thing that really does help, right, with an actress, you get on set and you jump into wardrobe and then you do your hair and makeup and you get into character. And that's a huge part of it. That is a catalyst for you becoming that character. And when you're done with the day, usually you get to take all that off and then go home. And so that was another big thing that kind of was a step above. When you went meth, is I lived that. Like I was doing that every day. There was no turning it off for like a month or two. So it definitely kind of created that. And during filming, I was like having like spurts where I was like, there's one time I fully like left set, like in the middle of the day. Like I didn't tell anyone. I was like, so kind of just over it, like so sad. I was like, I gotta just get a break. Like I wasn't mad at anyone. It's just like, I just left and like, I didn't tell anyone. And like, hour or two later, I got called by the director, like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, oh, nothing. So I was like, all right, I'll be back in a little bit. And, not trying to be selfish. I just was like kind of in a wild spot. So mentally, but, yeah, I mean, like I said, as I came out of it, like I talked to a couple like personal buddies, just like, oh, like just kind of telling them how I felt. And that helped a lot. And like, I would say, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're experiencing stuff like that, definitely get like talk to a friend. If you don't have a friend, like find like a therapist or something to chat with, like just chat about it. That's really what mostly helps, is just kind of expressing yourself, talking about it. But like, so weird. Yeah, definitely was an interesting experience. But, I mean, all in all, like it was a great experience for me personally. I'm super happy that, things happened as they did and I went through with it. I feel like that fortified too more of a barrier between like reality and acting. And so yeah, it's all good in hindsight, but just during it was just definitely kind of a crazy experience.
Wow. I don't
sorry.
I mean, I have no words. Like I can't even fathom trying to get into a headspace like that. So anything that you did to deal with that, in my mind, is warranted and justified. Like I could never do something like that. Wow. And not being able to,
pretty wild.
Not being able to like take off like a wig or anything. Like your hair is that color, your skin is that pale. Like you're living that life. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were doing it. Wow. It was kind of wild.
Yeah, talk about breaking the brain, right? Like that's intense stuff. But have you I'm looking at to trying to go to a lighter subject a little bit. Of
course, sure. Let's change it up.
But have you, growing up in the acting world, have you gotten into producing or any other, side of the camera kind of thing?
Yeah, there's a dumpster truck outside too. So if that's messing with the audio, let me know. But there's a bunch of side hustles, I guess, I could say, and other things I've experimented with. Like I definitely definitely love the idea of directing. I haven't really had the opportunity to do it like whole completely, but I've had some times where I got to dabble in it, and it's been really cool. I definitely picked up producing. Excuse me. I produced a TV series. It was like a stunt-based docu-comedy series, kind of like a Jackass type of thing that we did at my skate park, actually, in Aiken, South Carolina, at Hick Warehouse. And that show was called Narcats, and we produced that back in 2017, actually, right around when we were filming Cobra Kai too. So that was really fun, and yeah, I had a good time getting to play in that role as a producer and actually really see behind the scenes, and on a legit set. Like, I produced some fun stuff personally. I made like some little independent skate videos and stuff, but doing a full production like that and being a producer on it was a really cool experience. And since then, we produced a actual independent movie. A friend of mine wrote and some friends directed, called Skate Shop the Movie. So that's a really cool film that's going to come out this year. You can find that at Skate Shop the Movie on Instagram. Plug. But
I'll have it linked.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah, no worries. Yes, for sure. But yeah, so it's been cool to experiment with like other sides of the coin, and I mean, it's really all sick. Like, I think it's all super cool. Like, I think that it's all an art. Like, all these people are kind of like forming together, like, Voltron, to make this like thing happen. Like, because you got all these people that are like masters of their crafts. Like, actors and actresses are their own like masters of their art, and then people that are doing cinematography are also very masterful, and that again is an art as well. And then you start to get to things that are not usually highlighted as much, but things like the audio and the editing, those are also like great art forms. And then even further down the line of like, less mentioned heroes here, things like the, wardrobe, makeup, set decorations, art, that type of stuff. All people that are just super great artists and very masterful at what they do. Again, all these people coming together, and then you have some mathematicians behind the veil handling, like, not only handling just money, but also handling the logistics of moving around 5,000 humans every day. I mean, it's a lot of people working really hard to bring together a production. So it's pretty cool. The whole thing is super cool to me, and I like all the moving parts, and I would like to, dabble more in different things, like, just mess around and, do a little bit of all of it and get a total feel for everyone's position. But yeah, it's super, super cool.
Yeah, it's really similar to, being in a newsroom and going through a news production process. There's so many moving parts, and news is live. Like, it happens, and everybody has to do their job correctly all at the right time. And I'm very fortunate to go to a school where I've gotten to kind of put my hand in all the different cookie jars of what I'm doing. But it's been really fun. And when you produce something, I feel like it gives you a whole new perspective on how to be, in your case, an actor, but in my case, just being an on-air personality. And it teaches you, what are you looking for? What is the best way that I could help out my producer? Which is something that I don't know that everybody thinks about. And so once you've, tried the other side of the coin, it gives you a whole new perspective, which is really cool.
Totally. Yeah. And it makes everyone's job kind of easier, because then, like, it helps you understand how it works. Right. And you can do your job better kind of because of that.
Yeah.
And, I think that's what kind of comes with like that's like kind of wisdom, right? Like the essence of knowledge. Like, you understand the full, picture view, you understand the full life cycle of things, and like, it definitely helps out. Like, I think that's kind of one thing that I think if I had to kind of give myself a value, I think that's one thing that I would kind of claim as the most valuable about having, people like me on set, people that have been in the industry for over 10 years. Like, you've done it enough to where you like, kind of, you not only know what's expected of you, but what's expected of others, and you can just, be helpful, right? You don't have to ask simple questions, and you can be more efficient and stuff like that. So totally.
Yeah. Now that we've just sufficiently destroyed everyone's capacity to think for the next 10 hours.
Yeah, right. We spoke
We
for.
can finally get to the Cobra Kai of it all.
Let's go. Yeah, we've eased into film, right? We're ready now.
Oh yeah, it was a real easy transition.
Yeah.
we haven't gone too deep, I don't think.
No.
But I mean, like, we were talking about like, audition processes and stuff a little bit earlier in our conversation. What was it like in particular for Cobra Kai? Because it's not the first YouTube show you've worked on.
Yeah. No, it's not. And yeah, that was a really interesting experience. Like I had auditioned a lot in my life, and we talked about that a little bit. Excuse me. For this audition though, it was just so weird. I don't even know how to explain it properly without coming off kind of kooky, but I really was in a rush to do this audition, and I wasn't prepared at all. And not only was the production of Cobra Kai in a rush to get my tape back, like I had less than 24 hours to turn it around, but I also was in the middle of doing some stuff for another production. And so I was like, I just got to fire this off. Like, so I ran down into my office and set up a curtain, kind of, rigged it up sketchily. And then I literally just had, I think it was maybe my dad or maybe a buddy of mine just held the phone. They didn't even have a tripod. They held it, and we did the scene like once or twice. That was it. Just blasted through it. So it was like, to me, it was like, I don't always do that. Like I usually go through and, do justice of the script and read it, figure out what the heck's going on, and do the audition multiple times and get, there's a process to it. It takes a lot longer than that, but we blasted through this in like less than 5 minutes. And it was like, so to me, just still getting the part after that, I'm just like, what the heck is going on? Like just such a weird way for that to come together. So I don't know. It was wild for sure. And I know I look back at the tape long ago, actually, it's like I'm a mentor, and I was like, I looked crazy. You could tell I was a little stressed out. My hair was a little crazy looking. I was like, I look like a lunatic in this.
That works though.
Yeah.
I think that works for your character totally.
Yeah, I think it hit just in the right place for them. Yeah, and they loved it. And I had to leave like 2 days later. I had dropped everything I was doing to like in like 2 days. They're like, yeah, you got it. Like go to Atlanta right now. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my car and drive down there. So crazy, but yeah, it was a fun audition though too. I tell people like the script I got was very, very minuscule. Like I had not even a line. I think I maybe had one line, but pretty sure I had a line. It was the scene at the mini mart, and we were calling Miguel Rhea pretty much. And that was it. It's about it. I had that line, hey, we should call him Rhea. And that was about it. There was some dialogue telling me that, Brucks and the other characters start laughing. That's about it. And so when you're an actor and you get a script for audition read that's this small, it's literally a half a page, you're like, what do I do with this? Like what the heck? It's like trying to make a full course meal with just like bread. You don't have many ingredients to work with here, and it's pretty difficult to put this together. So in those types of situations, it can just be hard to make an impression, basically, right? And so I think me just kind of looking crazy and I did a lot of ad libs at the end of it, just kind of as if I was still making fun of that person and was having fun with it. I think that kind of helped seal the deal, because I was adding a little something extra to it, because it was basically a blank canvas that I had. Excuse me. Sorry. Time's up. We gotta go. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, the washing machine is pretty loud.
Well, at least you have one in your house or your apartment there.
Yeah.
I live on campus, so my apartment complex has one washer, and room in the basement. So at least yours is right there.
It is a luxury.
You talking about that first fight scene, that being your audition process is really, really cool. But you were, that was the first fight scene of Cobra Kai. And that was where, Billy makes his return, like Johnny Lawrence starts doing karate again. That's a really important scene. And you got to be a part of it. What was that like?
Yeah, thanks. I was definitely astonished. In the moment, I was loving it, but at the same time, I was like, "Is this happening?" I was kind of taken back. I'm not trying to flex or anything. I'm definitely an OG Karate Kid fan. I watched the movies. Yeah, there you go. My parents made me watch them, and they were 80s kids, and so I grew up with it, so I knew kind of what was happening, but I did also at the same time I was like, it didn't set in like it does now. But yeah, I mean, really stoked to be there for that. That was crazy. And I mean, for me too, it was also a pretty big scene because excuse me,
your camera
there we go. Yeah, so it was a pretty big can you hear me well?
Yeah
Good. It's a pretty big scene for me too, though, because I was there. That was literally like the second day of filming for me, and I was the first time I actually interacted with William or Johnny, and just getting to meet him kind of, right. And Ralph showed up that night too, and so I was like, holy cow, these people are here. I mean, I don't really get starstruck, but I do kind of I'm like, oh, sick, like these people are real, getting to meet them kind of like, it's definitely a cool feeling. And so working with William was awesome, and just being in that moment, and again, like kind of reverting back to what I was saying, right, like I definitely got to kind of play out an Easter egg or like an homage to like the original, because my character in that scene I got my legs swept by Johnny, and it was just super cool to get to play that out too, because I was like, oh, sick, I'm getting my legs swept by like an OG, like this is pretty tight. Like I was definitely really hyped to be there and just kind of get that out, because I would honestly use that kind of quote, I guess, in life sometimes as a joke, like yell out like sweep a leg or something, like before that, just kind of joking it, right. And like, so to end up getting my legs swept by that dude was pretty cool, like full circle event.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's like, it's awesome. There's no other way to describe it. It's awesome. I had the same kind of experience. My dad sat me down and was like, this is one of the movies you have to see, kind of thing. So I grew up a fan as well. I made, had me start karate right after that. I watched the movie and I turned around to my dad and I was like, so when am I starting? Like, when am I doing this?
Yeah, when are we doing karate? Totally.
So yeah, we use that quote all the time. I mean, I grew up with karate, so Karate Kid quotes were an everyday thing for me as well. And your character in itself is kind of an Easter egg. You're paying like a little bit of homage to Dutch, right?
Yeah, totally. That's
loud,
exactly. Yeah, I was definitely I was told that kind of in the beginning too, and so that kind of set the tone for me, because I was like, all right, cool, now I know kind of what to base this off of, because at first when you're playing a bully, it's kind of generic, so you're like, okay, what do I do, just be an asshole, like that's easy, but it's also kind of tasteless. So then, but knowing, I was like, because I sat down with the directors, with John, Josh, and Hayden, and the records writers, and I was like, kind of what are we doing here? I had that questionnaire with them, trying to figure out the character a little bit, and that came up. Right. That was the main talking point, the foundation. I was like, this is great. Now I have to base this off of, and it gave me everything I needed to kind of create kind of my own little world, I guess. I was like, all right, I know what my boundaries are now and what to like pull from for inspiration. So it was really cool. And yeah, again, just being, my character, again, another one. Hang on, let me turn this thing off. Oh my goodness.
Oh, hashtag adulting.
I know, right? Trying to knock out some laundry here in the middle of a podcast. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. I can honestly even cut this part out. Like it's all good. Or I
Either
can leave
way,
it in because it's, it's just a part of life.
yeah, we can keep it real. Honestly, if anyone watching this doesn't do their laundry, I'm worried.
Yeah, that'd be slightly
So,
concerning.
yeah,
unless
so
unless you're a kid and
should.
your mom does it for you, that's okay too. But
That is okay, right? Excuse me, yeah. But if if you're an adult, and you're out here trying to just wash your shirts and stuff, but yeah, I don't even know. We were talking about just wild stuff, I guess, huh? Cobra Kai.
We can move on. I want to talk about stunts.
Hey, yeah, no, it's whatever. I kind of lost my train of thought. I apologize. That buzzer is it's a pungent sound.
It is. I'm hearing it through the screen. Got a little jumpy.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, but it was just
Stunts.
it was a
You
good
do all
experience.
your own stunts, right? For the most part.
Yeah,
Especially in season
so
3, that was all you.
yeah, totally. They were super cool about that and getting into stunts. Like, so basically, Hirokota was stunt coordinator on the first, second, and third season, and so working with him was another situation where I was like, oh, I'm working with like a legend here because looking, he doesn't have the facial recognition like you do for Johnny and Ralph, like those characters, right? You don't look at Hero and say, oh, that's Hirokota, but when you know what he's done, you're like, dude, this guy is legit. And that was kind of the thing too. I was like, holy cow, I'm getting stunt direction from the Green Power Ranger right now. This is awesome. Like, it's like those types of things were really, really cool to me. And he's worked with some legends too that have not even here anymore. So like just great experience. And basically, yeah, sat down with them again and was like, I was very adamant. I was like, can I do this? And they were like, well, we really don't want you to because, obviously, like, if you get hurt, we can't keep going. And that would suck. And I was like, yeah, I get it. But, like, I would still just kind of, like, I would love to try where I can, like, let me, like, show you guys, like, I've done kickboxing and done mixed martial arts. I've done jiu-jitsu, karate. Like, I know how to fight, kind of. And I've been punched in the face a lot and thrown upside down.
Taught you how to fall too.
And then I carried on to that. Exactly. Yeah. You should have been in the room pitching with me. I literally said the same thing. I was like, yeah, I skateboard and like I don't think anything we're gonna do is gonna be that bad. Like it's falling on a skateboard. Not to sound kooky, but yeah. And so they're like, all right, cool. Totally like, we're supportive of it. We'll give you a shot. And so that first night, at the Quick Mart when me and the gang fought Johnny, like that was kind of it. And they were like, all right, go for it. And so they let me kind of give it a shot. And I sent it. I was like, all right, 110%. I'm going to slam harder than I have to. Like, I'm going to really make it real. And, they let me do it. And it happened. And they were like, they were surprised and like, great, well, cool, you can do it. You're good. So they let me do everything from then on. And I mean, they had a fella do as a stunt double, and he would end up doing a take or two just to have that. But yeah, I think that all of my scenes, they've used the ones where I was actually doing the stunts. So, yeah, so that's been really cool. Like I've been so stoked just to even have the opportunity to do it. Even if they didn't use it, whatever, just getting to do it for me was so fun because that is a whole different leg of this, right? Like you obviously have acting, but then when you get to tie it in with the stunt work, it's just a whole other level. It's super, super fun.
Oh yeah, and I feel like getting like if you get you're doing the stunts and you're acting like you're getting punched in the face, like I would get so riled up, like I would get so heated, and I would go full send for sure.
Yeah.
It probably makes it easier to act it all out, and we see your face in all those shots, so you get to see that it was with you.
Totally, yeah. When you're channeling that energy, it's really helpful because you get to like get that adrenaline flowing, or whatever, and it's real. It's actually real, and so when you can put that on camera, it definitely translates. It's not as much acting. It's just real.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. I love doing all the stunts, and the processes were great. Like everyone was so talented. Like stunt coordinators, the stunt men and women, the actors doing the stunts as well. and the cinematographers and you know, the whole production, right? Everyone, when it came to doing the stunts, everyone was on their A+ game. Like it was an amazing experience, you know. So I mean, you definitely have to be, because you know, you're kind of toying around with mortality a little bit sometimes. We didn't do anything that crazy, but you know, you don't want to you know, slip and, you know, break an ankle or something, you know, because that can happen. So, but still at the same time, like, everyone's killing it, you know, and I think that's why they've had such success. I mean, they were Emmy nominated every year thus far for best stunts. I mean, that's huge. So yeah, I mean, it was an amazing experience to get to play a part of that.
Yeah, the stunts are incredible in the show, and as a former martial artist, it's really fun to see it all play out on screen. But your fight scene in this last season with Hawk, Jacob's character,
Yeah.
is a really, really intense scene for his character development.
Yeah.
So when you're acting in that scene and you're kind of acting as, I would say, a supporting like part of his whole character's journey, and you're a really important part of it. How
Yeah.
do you, in that kind of scene, how do you make sure that you're doing everything you can to aid to that character's development?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I want to can I take 1 second? I'm going to check my phone real quick. I've been getting a bunch of messages, and then I'm going to go right into answering that. Is that okay?
You're good. You're good.
I apologize. Yeah, no, totally. That's a great question though. Let me see here. I've been it's been buzzing and stuff, and I was like, well, maybe the world's ending. And so let me just check this. Okay. Okay. All right. I think it's all right. Let me see here.
If the world ends, it'll probably start here in New York or maybe DC. That's my theory.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know if I started seeing the bomb.
Yeah, if something crazy is going on, yeah, let me know for sure. Yeah, let me just check outside my house too and make sure that no one's waiting out there with pitchforks. And yeah, no angry mom.
Good to know.
Yeah, cool, we're good. Yeah, you know what? Not to downplay or anything, but actually, where I'm from in Aiken, South Carolina, we're by this plant called SRS. You can look it up, Savannah River Site, and it's number 3 on the top places to be bombed if America was ever bombed, because they weaponize plutonium for nuclear weapons there. So it's like White House, Pentagon, and then the bomb plant in my hometown.
South Carolina. That's the list.
Random one, right? Yeah, and then I'm sure, you know, like New York is right there with it too. But so not trying to downplay or anything, but yeah, going back to your question about like me being like kind of, or just Brucks supporting Hawk's character arc. Yeah, when I read the script originally for that scene, I was like kind of blown away. I was like, holy cow, like this character's really developing like big time. Like that's huge, you know, because they play up the entire, you know, series up to now and what this character's been going through with his bullying and him finding himself as a high schooler. And, you know, he started off as like super self-conscious nerd, and then he became this karate badass, and then he became like an evil karate badass. And, you know, I feel like this was him like kind of really, you know, just comparing it to Star Wars, this is him really diving into the Sith, right? You know, like he kind of completely goes off to the deep end here, right? Like it's definitely a wild scene. And so when I was like kind of reading it, I was like, holy cow, like this is heavy. And then getting there to play it, definitely, you know, kind of seeing it play out, I was like, yeah, this is, you know, just, it's awesome. Like I'm just stoked. I'm stoked to be a part of it, you know? So I'm like, this is amazing. And I'm just, you know, here to help essentially, right? Like, let me play this character the best I can and make him all big and bad, so that when he falls, you know, really hard, right? So like you get that type of you know, like a Goliath type of thing happening, you know, David versus Goliath type scenario. So yeah, and it was just really cool, like, you know, how it even played out. Like I also not to be nerdy, but I watch a bunch of anime, and it reminded me of like a cliche anime scene where this, because Jacob does too. He might not let people know on social media, but me and him talk about anime all the time, and we were joking about this being like a scene out of a, like My Hero Academia or something, because it's just like, you literally have this, it's just a great underdog moment. And granted, he's obviously a karate badass at this moment, but I think that the directors and writers did a great job of keeping people scared of Brucks too.
Yeah.
Like, no offense, sometimes in film you can tell when the hero's going to win, and I feel like they did a great job of leading us up to here saying, holy cow, like really who is going to do it? Because like in the scene before, Brucks was, curling 100-pound dumbbells. Like, he obviously is still a threat. So yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. I loved being a part of it. And the fight was so fun to do. I remember practicing it and getting in there with him in the mix too. You really bro down with someone when you're like almost punching each other in the face for an hour. Like, you're really trusting each other of like to hit your marks, so you don't, because we're really swinging these punches, our kicks, it's all really happening. So if you're an inch or two in the wrong direction, you're gonna get hit. So you kind of, it's literally like a kind of doing a choreographed dance,
Yeah, for sure. No, I love that you guys are all anime nerds. There's another scene of Jacob's that reminds me of a My Hero scene too, when he's in the school fight scene when he goes into the computer lab and he's like threatening.
Oh my god.
That was another one where I was like, oh
yeah.
He's working off some other material here.
Yeah, totally, dude. Totally.
Yeah, but were you in the room when Jacob was filming the finishing part of that scene when you're getting beat and it's up on his face? Were you there for that?
Yeah, totally. I watched my demise. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. We it was at the end of the day too. We were trying to squeeze it in. But basically they set up like a couple apple boxes, some sandbags, and then like it was a setup with like they had like this machine that kind of shot some blood up, but they also had this machine, not even machine, excuse me. They literally had, if I recall correctly, I think it was a paper plate with blood, just, fake blood on it. And what he was doing is the paper plate, I think, was on like a little pad. So he was really punching this pad with this paper plate full of blood. And it's so lowbrow, but it's genius. The paper plate had enough kind of bounce to it that it would kind of shoot blood when he hit it,
So cool.
And then yeah, his hands came up, of course, covered in blood too, but he was able to really lay into it because it was like padded and it didn't hurt. So yeah, he was just tearing up this like paper plate for about 10 or 15 minutes, and they got a couple shots, and that was it. Stuff like that is so interesting too. Like you think back to like episode, I forget exactly what episode, but the season 1 we're at, I guess it's episode 1. But yeah, I'm tripping. Like, but you go back to that fight at the pizza, the Quick Mart, and you're like, we pour Pepto Bismol on Miguel. That was like, we only did that like twice, because you're ruining his entire wardrobe and his hair, and you basically have to get a shower afterwards. Like, same thing with his blood. I mean, granted, he had his shirt off, but it got in his hair and was getting everywhere. So they really only shot those types of scenes. They shoot them once or twice, and that's it,
Yeah, that hair can't really get messed up too. I heard that takes forever to put up. So
yeah, totally.
Definitely can't ruin that.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jacob in some of his interviews that I've seen has talked about how much that scene impacted him as like, someone who had experienced bullying and, kind of really taking charge and beating up your bully, like, and how emotional that was. And I know, growing up in the skate community, like, I've definitely been picked on, and I'm sure it's happening everywhere. I don't know if you've experienced any bullying, but was there any kind of emotional stuff happening on your end watching kind of that play out?
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely like a heavy scene because he was, he was getting to kind of develop that. But yeah, I mean, it was excuse me, prompt here. But yeah, I was like, I think I played a lot of bullies because I've always been like kind of like it had bigger stature, and like I've done enough now too where it's kind of like on my resume as something I can do well. And so yeah, so playing a bully, I've always kind of drawn from what I've experienced from other bullies too, because I've definitely been bullied, and so it helps me play a good bully. But at the same time too, I kind of understand what's the other person's going through, so yeah, it's kind of, again, knowing like the full circle, kind of how to make these deeper cuts with like your words and stuff when you're performing as an actor, how to deliver things. Because if it was delivered to you that way, it would probably sting a little bit more, that type of stuff. So like same thing with this type of character and just like playing into it. And I mean, yeah, it's a great moment because I mean, probably going into like a full karate assault and beating your bully's face in to a bloody pulp is probably not the best way to handle that situation. But it is a great like, it's a great story too, just to say, hey, like you can't stand up for yourself, like it doesn't matter, like, you can do it, and that type of thing. So yeah, and that's really cool. And like I said, you're kind of like, we were talking about this way earlier, like when you're acting, you're kind of pulling from like some real life events sometimes, and that's what kind of helps you make it real or make it relatable, and act. So yeah, definitely. I think that this whole, like, it's crazy because this whole franchise is kind of based on bullying, and I think that everyone, has definitely been in that situation at some point. And yeah, it's definitely a crazy thing. Like it sucks. And like, I toy with that a lot too. I'm like, how do like I had a conversation with my wife about this the other day. We were like, how do you even learn to bully as a child, right? 'Cause children are pretty innocent creatures usually. Like, like how do you learn to be a bully? Who taught you that behavior? That type of stuff is really interesting to me. So, but yeah, it's wild, and it's cool we get to play this stuff out and kind of create a catalyst for a conversation like this, because this is what to me, and I think a lot of the people, what really matters is like just improving quality of life for people. Like it's fun to watch the movie or the show and laugh or cry or get excited, but really there's these underlying tones there that can cause like a movement, and that's what makes like film very powerful at the end of the day. So but yeah, so I'm stoked we got to talk about it.
So glad that you brought that up. I mean, that was a big reason that I even started this podcast in the first place. I just feel like this show was something that was a great jumping off point to have conversations like this. And I feel like in another life, you were definitely a psychology major because you are really into this stuff just as much as I am. I love it. You're such a deep thinker, and you think about things just, with so much detail, which is awesome because it makes this conversation so much fun.
Thanks, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, it's just crazy, trains of thought running through my head constantly. So welcome to, to the world.
Welcome to my life. Yeah. No, I think about this kind of stuff all the time. It's something that I think the show does a really good job of addressing and creating a space for conversations like this. But yeah, I mean, you gave us a little bit of some behind the scenes knowledge, but were anything like super funny happen, like just to get this going in like a really lighthearted and fun space? I mean, I know the cast is like
natural.
Fun.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good times together on set. I mean, everyone's super cool. Like all the people they picked for the new generation of characters were all like, not that the old generation isn't cool. They're all great folks, but like everyone that I was interacting with daily, at least, were all super fun and cool people. And so, yeah, we had great times on and off the set, just like talking about this scene in particular. Like Jacob was like, we were shooting that fight scene in season 3. He was like so fired up because we were just, we just did this scene a bunch and we were literally fighting, and he was just so fired up that me and him just basically started wrestling off to the side. And it was definitely not what we should have been doing. We were kind of just like tussling each other and ended up like, because it's a real mat, so you can like throw yourself around there. So we started like actually just kind of like grappling with each other. and Hero came and like got on our butts, but he's like, y'all need to chill out. I was like, yeah, sorry, man. We just were like all riled up from like trying to fake fight each other for the last hour, stuff like that though, really good times. Like I remember we, again, like we're all pretty nerdy. So we were like, it's me, Joe, Jacob, Miguel, like we were all playing like Magic the Gathering those couple weeks before, just hanging out. Like we were just hanging out at Miguel and Jolo in Jacob's house, like just playing Magic until like 2 a.m. or hanging out, like doing just silly stuff in Atlanta. I mean, it's fun out there. We were going to whatever, eat barbecue and just like, hang out. Like it creates a good dynamic, even if you hate each other on film. If you're friends with each other, like in real life, you at least know that person's boundaries kind of, and you can, create chemistry that way. So yeah, it's great times for sure. I've actually seen like sorry to go on a tangent. I've seen like a not weird, but just like an old photo kind of resurging every now and then. I feel like a lot of the Cobra Kai fan pages like kind of scrounge for content. And there's this photo of like all of us from season 1 at like a dive bar having like some bar food. Like it's so funny. I'm like, yeah, dude, like that's crazy. That's like 4 years old now. Like, and it's so funny. Like, yeah, we were all just, having a good time. Probably couldn't pull that off now. If we all walked into a bar together now and the right people were there, I feel like they'd probably have an egg.
It'd be mob scene. You guys, ever since the show has gone to Netflix, it is really, really taken off, which is so awesome to see, because now people, who are fans of it when it was on YouTube, like myself or, some of the other fans out there, like we're getting a whole new group of people to include in this space, and more content and more conversations. And it's been great. I mean, like I finally got my family to start watching it.
That's rad.
Once it was on Netflix, I was like, okay, mom, sister, come sit down. Like we're gonna watch this now. My brother watched it. They all binged it because it was out on Netflix, which was super, super cool. But I love how nerdy this cast is, because it makes me feel cool.
Yeah, no,
I'm like, all these people with like millions of followers and everything, like they are into the same stuff I am.
Yeah, dude, they're all sitting at home waiting for that next season of like Dr. Stone to come out and playing Magic and whatever other, nerdy stuff you can imagine. Yeah, watching like Naruto AMVs on their Instagram feed that someone edited. Like, I don't know, just silly stuff. We're all like the same pretty much. I feel like this generation has been, has a pretty similar taste in, pop culture. So, but yeah.
It just makes me so happy. It makes my little heart happy that I can sit here and you can mention Magic and in passing as if it's just this normal thing that everyone does. And growing up, it was definitely not something that people considered cool that I was doing, or and just it's so much fun to be able to now be in a position to talk to you guys and get to know people who are, you're an actor, but like we're interested in a lot of the same things, and it's so much fun to have a conversation like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm stoked to be here and chat and stuff. It's been fun. Like, we're all kind of humans, right? We're all kind of the same. We're all like the same thing essentially. So it's like we're it's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, kind of like got to get in there with like my train of thought, but yeah, really, really rad. It's good to just chat about this stuff. So
as I head towards wrapping up, something that I want to make a point on my podcast here is positivity and spreading positivity. And I know that COVID and this COVID world, and we're at a year now of living in it, has a lot of people focusing on the negative. So I'm asking everybody that I talk to give me the best thing that has come out of this year of pandemic for them.
Okay, yeah, that's a great one. It's definitely been a crazy year. So I don't know. I feel like I answered a similar question recently. Not quite the same question. This is a really good question. I'm trying to think. Like, I guess like the best thing that's come out of it, weird. Like, I mean, obviously, everyone found time because they were sitting at home to binge Cobra Kai. That's the best thing. Okay. But I, definitely, a serious response. Like, I think I had a good bit of time to kind of sit and think personally. And I guess, like, for lack of better terms, like, this is going to sound really corny, but I kind of like found like happiness, I guess. Like, I found like that you kind of what you need to kind of just enjoy life, right? Like, for a while, it was if we kind of go, working, focusing on the next big thing and the next thing that I'm doing with my career. And it kind of forced me to sit on my couch and be like, well, what the heck am I doing in my life? And, through some, I guess, soul searching, I was just like, yeah, I'm actually like really happy. I don't have to like be chasing this goal or whatever you want to call it, or this like end picture in my head to be happy. I'm just kind of enjoying where I am now because I'm happy now. And I've achieved a bunch of stuff I'm stoked on, and it's cool. I'm here, I don't know, kind of finding contentness, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, that sounds corny, but yeah, it gave me some time to think about that type of stuff, and basically just, kind of, I guess I came out of it and it helped me kind of improve my quality of life because I was just able to be like, oh, wow, yeah, I don't need all these bells and whistles, I guess. I don't know, weird,
Yeah.
but.
No, I love that answer. And another part of this is me challenging myself to have a different response to each person that answers this. And
Yeah.
so I guess I would say similarly, mine would be kind of finding contentness as well in my own identity, because for a long time I'm going to school for sports journalism. And
Yeah.
I am in a male dominated field. And for a long time, I felt like the only thing I could consume was sports, because I had to know more than everybody else to prove myself and to fully immerse myself in something. And, sports came to a halt, and I stopped and I said, there are so many things that I'm passionate about that I've been putting on the back burner. And so many things that I love doing. And, starting this podcast like came out of the pandemic for me, because I stopped thinking I could only do something sports related. Like, of course I can start a Cobra Kai podcast if I want to. Like,
totally.
It's something that I like, that, not every kid in my class necessarily is super into, like, but this is what I wanted to do. And so coming to terms with like, not always having to conform to the standard that I thought was being set. So definitely becoming content in my own nerdiness and my own identity a little bit was very positive for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm stoked for you. That's amazing. Yeah. And not to make this weird, but yeah, I was really stoked when you hit me up, because you're like the first like female podcaster that's hit me up to talk about the Cobra Kai, at least. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, totally. Like, I was definitely down to do it regardless, but I was really stoked. I was like, okay, this is exciting to like, like work with you on this, because I've been talking to guys mostly, either, teen, young teen adults, or like guys my parents' age, nothing wrong with either of that, but like, basically missing demographics. Like, I think we're pretty close to the same age, and like, so we've kind of like aligned on some of this stuff more, and it's been a really, really cool conversation because of that as well. So yeah, just super, super cool. I'm stoked, like, stoked for you too, to kind of find that about yourself. I think that's kind of the point, is you just got to kind of figure out what you like and then do that, and you'll be happy. So.
Yeah, I have to say, I reached out to you so early because you're one of the people I was most excited to talk to. Was watching your Instagram and all just the skate stuff that happens on it. I was like, I want to talk to him about skating.
That's right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Totally. It's been so awesome, and I want to give you an opportunity now to kind of tell everybody where we can see stuff that you're working on.
Thanks. Yeah. All right. Yeah, some shameless self-promotion. You can find me on Instagram at Blonde Ambition Mitchell. There you go. Number one. I have probably about 10 other Instagram pages that I run, different facets, different things. So most of it nerdy, silly stuff. So if you find some of that, then I hope you have some fun looking at all the weird things I'm doing. And then I don't know, as far as professional stuff goes, like we had Skate Shop the movie on Instagram. That's a movie that we we've made independently over the last year or so, and it should be dropping this year. I also work with some buddies of mine as a brand consultant at Team Fun, and Fun is spelled with a PH, so PHUN. You can check us out. We're making a bunch of like cool swag stuff, and finally, I have a new skateboard brand that I'm helping manage, and some of my mentees actually developed and started, called Fiance Skate. So yeah, fianceskate.com. The website's going up next week. They got an Instagram at Fiance Skate, so you can check them out. And we're making videos and making merch and having fun, skating. So yeah.
Super awesome. And I've been seeing all the skate stuff. I was looking at Fiance Skate just right before this interview. Before this interview was supposed to happen the last time.
Oh, right on.
And I went down like a rabbit hole of like looking at all that stuff, because I was like, yeah, let me just familiarize myself. And then I was like, oh no, this is cool. Like here I go, hitting, following the accounts. I'm like, I should be following this on my personal, not my Queen Cobra one. But here I am following it on both, so that every time I open it up, I'm seeing something skate related, which
amazing.
Which is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you came on here to talk to me. Everything is going to be linked below, all of those accounts that you just mentioned, as well as like your IMDb, so that people can find out everything that's going on with you.
Right on. Good looks.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.